Auburn fans out there in the country, man. Once again, it's Kennard, Vernon Stewart here with the podcast. We're talking Auburn football. It has been a while since I've done some of these videos. And, I've been kind of out of the mix, for various reasons. But that's neither here nor there. Go ahead and like the video, comment, and subscribe to Vernon Speak Sports Auburn. Down in Deep South, college football is king. And on the plains of Auburn, the battle cry is War Eagle. I'd be remiss to not do a video on Auburn versus Texas A&M. Are you kidding me? This rivalry is unique. As they were partners in the SEC West up until this season with the onboarding of Texas and Oklahoma. And they've had some pretty interesting football games, since Texas A&M joined the conference in 2012, and they made a splash. I'm talking about in 2012, they made a splash, and they were really pushing the envelope to, possibly be a SEC West contender in the SEC championship game. I can't remember what it was. I didn't take the time to do the research. I think it was a loss to Florida that kicked them out. But, man, they came to Auburn, and they gave Auburn one of the most profound butt whoopings that we had seen. I don't think I've ever seen Auburn get beat that bad, especially not at home. During Johnny Manziel's Heisman Trophy campaign, I thought that was pretty epic, to be honest with you. And the next year, 2013, people were thinking, all right, it's Gus Malzahn's first year. He's fallen to LSU on the road, 35-21. Although Auburn played pretty good in that second half, giving some promise that, this could be an okay season. But my goodness, Auburn, after a slow start, after it looked like things were going to get to the 2012 outcome, now here comes Nick Marshall. Nick Marshall going toe-to-toe with, at the time, one of the best dual-threat quarterbacks in the country. Auburn wins that football game that catalyzed them as not only a SEC champion, but a national championship appearance, which most will argue, after looking at the trajectory of the game and looking at how Auburn played in that game against Florida State, Auburn probably should have been national champions in 2013. But Auburn is the coulda, shoulda, woulda team of all time, so whatever. All right. Auburn now faces a Texas A&M team that is pretty similar to all the teams that they've lost to. Teams with a good defensive line, teams with a dual threat quarterback, teams that are able to neutralize them on offense and make them one-dimensional, although there are some perceived weapons on the field that just realistically, yeah, they show up and they show out against teams that they should do that against. I mean, we look at what Cam Coleman did last week, against University of Louisiana Monroe. And I don't know whether the injury has kind of wavered off or what the case may be. I think the offense looked pretty good, but it looked good against Alabama A&M. It also looked good against New Mexico State. But what it hasn't looked good is against Power 5 football teams. Now, Kentucky, the game they did win, that was probably one of the better outcomes for the offense. But even still, we still got to look at the reality of this. Has Auburn turned the page enough as a 4-6 team with not much at all to play for other than a bowl appearance that will be very beneficial to the guys that are coming back and some of the guys that may be early enrollees, because last season Auburn had the opportunity to get some guys that were, early enrollees in high school to get some practice. Of course, they couldn't play, but they got a chance to get some college action. That would be very beneficial. But Texas A&M has so much more on the line. They're in a situation they have to beat Auburn and then turn around and beat Texas to be a contender. And they are a legit contender in the college football playoff. But Auburn is no stranger of cutting folks off of that. They've done that to their rivals, Alabama, a couple of times, where Alabama comes in, hey, if we beat Auburn, we go to the SEC championship, then that could mean a lot more. We look at even in that 2013 season, Alabama beats Auburn, go to the SEC championship, let the chips fall as they may. Kick six later, Auburn's in the SEC championship, playing for the national championship. Then, what was really hilarious is Auburn in 2017 figures out a way to beat Alabama by double digits at home. They lose to Georgia in the SEC championship game. Alabama sits out, but then weasels their way into the national championship game and actually wins. So, that's just how the cookie crumbles. Now, let's just say if the cookie was the way it is now, Auburn actually would have been in the college football playoff, more than likely, as a 2-loss team, having beaten Georgia and Alabama. You just couldn't leave them out. But, Auburn has this situation now to where they just don't play well against teams that have better rosters than them. And let's just admit, Texas A&M just has a better roster. They have a dual threat quarterback, obviously, who has done relatively well. They do have a, running back that has gone down, but the backup has done pretty good. Auburn's advantage, though, is, yes, a home game. It's a night home game. It's a night home game that Auburn has not had all year in the SEC. So it's going to be electrifying. I think the guys are going to be well rested. Kind of hard to play, get up to par at 12:30 in the morning to play some of the top teams in the country, but it might be a little bit more energetic facing a team like Texas A&M that they statistically kind of compare to. There's nothing that says that Texas A&M should dominate Auburn in this game. Not at all. I think Auburn has the weapons, if utilized properly and if executed properly, could win the game, actually. And I'm not being a homer here. I'm just saying what everybody has seen all year, that is staggering that a team that has 18 points allowed on defense and is a 4-16. That just doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense that you have given the ball, you distribute the ball to multiple running backs. You have a 1,000-yard rusher. You have Cam Coleman, who's done well. You have, Keandre Lambert-Smith, who's probably going to be one of the best wide receivers for Auburn in recent history. It just doesn't add up statistically. But we go back to the turnovers. Either turnovers on downs or just straight out turnovers. Or bad situational play calling have really hurt Auburn. And it's going to hurt them in a game like this. Because you have a Texas A&M football team that's going to probably force you in positions to you're going to be in the game, be 7-3. Texas A&M, 7-3 up. It's the middle of the second quarter. It's 4th down and 1 in minus territory, maybe around the 40-something yard line. And you're going to be tempted to, instead of play the field position game, you're going to feel that pressure. And I think, Hugh Freeze talked about, I almost said Bruce Pearl. Man, they got a great basketball team, huh? Those guys are doing good. We talk about that in another video. But it's going to force you to be like, look, we don't want to give these guys the ball back, but why not? Play the field position game. Put these guys in positions to where they have to earn it. Don't give any SEC team, especially one that has the opportunity to, if they win out, probably going to the SEC championship, or at worst, going to the college football playoffs. You have to take advantage of all the opportunities to put things in your perspective favorably. Now, with that in mind, it's prediction time. I love Auburn. I really do. And I've actually, in a really eerie kind of way, actually have enjoyed watching this team play. Got a whole bunch of true freshmen out there kind of running around, not knowing what's going on, keeping the team in the game, very athletic. I'm really excited as to what they can do next year. But you're playing against a team that has everything in front of them. You have everything behind you as an Auburn Tiger, and you're trying to claw yourself into a bowl game versus a team you're up against that's trying to claw themselves into a playoff game. And I just don't think the numbers match. Now, Vegas also agrees with me in saying that the game will be relatively close. I think it will. I think you need to take the over on the 3.5, but you need to take the under because it will be under the point differential. And I got Texas A&M. I don't want to have them, but I got to be realistic as to the totality of the circumstance. I got Texas A&M 24-10, a very enjoyable game. 6:30 is the kickoff. I can't remember what you got to wear at the game, but either way, I love Auburn, man, and I've really enjoyed these guys playing. I've enjoyed the statistical differential in what we have going on. Also have loved what is going on in the recruiting trail. Still being competitive late in November, although, you know, the season has collapsed. I think guys are seeing the potentiality of this team. A lot of fans, you know, not necessarily agreeing with where Hugh Freeze is directing the program, but they are not the decision makers. Got Texas A&M 24-10. See you next week. Alabama and Auburn in the Iron Bowl in Tuscaloosa. Let's see if Auburn can be competitive there. Like this video, comment, and subscribe to Vernon Speaks Sports. Auburn, down in Deep South, college football is king. And on the plains of Auburn, Alabama, the battle cry is War Eagle.